Jake Morrison felt cold. That was the first thing that came back to him as his mind slowly pulled away from the deep darkness of cryosleep. Cold and a strange buzzing sound that seemed to come from everywhere at once. His eyes refused to open. At first, stuck together after what felt like the longest sleep of his life. The buzzing got louder. Red lights flashed behind his closed eyelids. Oh, something was wrong. Jake forced his eyes open and immediately wished he had not. Bright warning lights filled his vision, making his head pound. He was lying in his cryopod, the same one he had climbed into what felt like yesterday but knew had been much longer. The pod's clear cover was already sliding open with a soft hiss. Warning. Emergency awakening protocol activated. All crew members report to stations immediately. The voice belonged to Diana, the ship's computer system. She sounded different. Somehow, older maybe, or tired. Jake tried to sit up, but his body would not listen. His muscles felt like water. This was normal after cryosleep, he told himself. The training had prepared him for this, but something felt different this time. Wrong. He managed to turn his head to the side and saw other pods opening throughout. The large cryo bay. Steam poured out of each one as the systems brought his crew back to life. Lisa Parker, his chief engineer, was already trying to climb out of her pod 2 rows over. She looked as confused and weak as Jake felt. "Jake! Jake! You awake?" Lisa's voice was rough and dry. She was on her feet now, holding onto her pod for support. "What's happening?" "Why are we waking up?" Before Jake could answer, another voice. "Join them." "I don't know, but those alarms are giving me a headache." Ryan Collins, their navigator, was pulling himself up from his pod. His dark hair was messy and his face was pale, but his eyes were already sharp and focused. "Diana," Jake called out, surprised by how weak his own voice sounded. "Status report. Why did you wake us up?" The computer's voice filled the bay. "Captain Morrison, I apologize for the emergency awakening. We have reached our destination system, but there are complications that require immediate crew attention." Felt a spark of excitement cut through his confusion. Their destination. Kepler 442b, the new world that would become humanity's second home. They had made it. More crew members were waking up around the bay. Amy Rodriguez, their communications officer, was already checking the screens built into her pod. Her fingers moved quickly over the controls, even though she could barely stand straight. "Diana, how long were we asleep?" Jake asked the question he was almost afraid to hear the answer to. There was a pause that lasted too long. "The mission timeline has been extended beyond original parameters, Captain. I will brief you fully once you reach the bridge," Lisa caught Jake's eye from across the bay. Extended timeline? That could mean anything from a few extra years to... Jake did not want to think about the other possibilities. Dr. Karen Webb was awake now, too. The ship's doctor and xenobiologist looked around the cryo bay with the same confusion they all felt. "Everyone stay calm," she said in her steady voice. "Move slowly. Your bodies need time to remember how to work properly." Jake forced himself to stand. His legs shook, but held his weight. Around him, 24 other crew members were doing the same. These were the best and brightest humans of their time. Scientists, engineers, soldiers, and explorers, chosen from millions of volunteers to take humanity to the stars. "All right, everyone," Jake said, his voice getting stronger. "You know the drill. Medical check first, then to your stations." "Lisa, I want a full systems report in 30 minutes. Ryan, check our position and navigation data. Amy, scan for any signals or communications." The crew moved with practiced efficiency, despite their weakness. They had trained for this moment for years before leaving Earth. Jake made his way slowly toward the bridge, using the walls for support when his legs threatened to give out. The ship felt different as he walked through the corridors. The walls seemed older somehow, though he could not say exactly why. Some of the lights were dimmer than he remembered. Paint was faded in places that had been bright when they went to sleep. The bridge was just as he remembered it, except for the layer of dust on some of the surfaces. Jake settled into his captain's chair, and activated the main display. What he saw made his blood run cold. The star chart showed their location, but it was not what he expected. They were indeed in the Kepler 442 system, but they were not alone. Massive structures orbited the star, too big and too regular to be natural. Artificial satellites the size of moons. Space stations that could house millions of people. Diana, Jake said quietly. What am I looking at? We arrived at Kepler 44 to be approximately 847,000 years ago. The planet was unsuitable for human colonization due to atmospheric toxicity that was not detected by our long-range surveys. Following emergency protocols, maintained the crew in extended cryo sleep while searching for alternative habitable worlds. Jake felt the world spin around him. 847,000 years. Nearly 1 million years had passed while they slept. Everyone they had ever known on Earth was dead. Their children's children's children, going back hundreds of thousands of generations, were all gone. During this extended mission, Diana continued, I have detected the emergence of what appears to be a galactic civilization. The structures, you see, are of unknown origin and design. Long-range sensors indicate similar constructions throughout this region of space. Lisa's voice came over the intercom from engineering. Oh, Jake, we have a problem down here. These systems should not still be working after this long. The power cells should have died centuries ago. But everything is running like new. Amy's voice joined her from the communications station. Captain, I'm picking up signals. Lots of them. Different frequencies. Different patterns. Some of them are strong enough to be coming from nearby, but others. Jake. Some of these signals are coming from the direction of Earth. Jake stared at the display showing the alien structures. They were beautiful in a way, elegant and purposeful. But they also meant that humanity was no longer alone in the universe. After sleeping for almost 1 million years, they had awakened to find the galaxy full of life. Diana, any response to our beacon signals? Any contact from Earth or the other colony ships? Another long pause. No response from Earth, Captain. Planet appears to have gone silent approximately 847,000 years ago. I have detected no signals. From other human colony ships in this region, the bridge door opened, and the rest of his senior staff entered. Lisa looked worried. Ryan was studying a data pad, and Amy was carrying a portable communications unit that was beeping softly. Talk to me, Jake said. Lisa spoke first. The ship is in perfect condition, Jake. Too perfect. The maintenance systems have been upgrading and repairing everything while we slept. We're actually in better shape now than when we left Earth. Ryan nodded. Navigation confirms DIA in his report. We're in the right system, but we've been here for a very long time. Star charts show we've visited 14 different star systems looking for a new home. Amy activated her communicator. This is the big one, Jake. I'm receiving structured signals from over 200 different sources. Mathematical patterns, prime numbers, even what looks like periodic table data. This isn't random noise. These are intelligent communications. Between multiple civilizations, Jake looked at his crew, the last humans in the universe as far as they knew. They had slept through the rise of galactic civilization. They had missed nearly 1 million years of human history. Earth was silent, and they might be the only humans left alive. But they were alive. And they were not alone in the galaxy anymore. All right, Jake said, standing up from his chair. We're going to figure this out. We're going to learn who's out there, and we're going to decide what humans do next. Outside the ship, the alien structures continued their ancient dance around the star, unaware that the galaxy was about to meet its forgotten children. 3 days had passed since the crew of the New Horizon woke up to find themselves in a galaxy they no longer recognized. Jake Morrison stood on the bridge watching the alien structures through the main display. The massive stations orbiting the star were even more impressive up close. They moved with purpose, following patterns that suggested intelligence and planning. Captain Amy Rodriguez called from her communications station. I'm getting something new. Multiple contacts approaching our position. They're big, Jake. Really big. Collins looked up from his navigation console. Confirmed. 6 ships, moving toward us from the inner system. They're not trying to hide their approach. Jake felt his heart rate increase. This was it. First contact with whatever civilization had built those incredible structures. He had dreamed of this moment during training, but never imagined it would happen after sleeping for nearly 1,000,000 years. "Lisa, how are our systems?" Jake asked. "All green, Captain," Lisa Parker replied from engineering. "Weapons are online if we need them, but honestly, if they wanted to destroy us, they probably would have done it already." Dr. Karen Webb entered, the bridge carrying her medical scanner and a portable computer. "Jake, I've been thinking about what we should do if they want to communicate. We don't know anything about their language or culture." Amy's station started beeping rapidly. "Jake, they're sending us something. It's mathematics. Basic number sequences, prime numbers, and geometric patterns." Jake smiled despite his nervousness. Mathematics was the universal language. Any intelligent species would understand numbers and basic science. Send back the same patterns, but add the next sequence in each series. Show them we understand. Amy's fingers flew over her controls, transmitting now. The response came within minutes. More complex mathematical concepts, including what looked like physics equations and chemical formulas. The alien ships continued their approach, but they were moving slowly, almost carefully. "They're being polite," Ryan observed. "No aggressive maneuvers, no weapons targeting us. They want to talk." Jake made his decision. "Amy, transmit our basic information. Show them we're from Earth, that we're explorers. Use the mathematical symbols they've established." "Already working on it, Captain." On the main screen, the alien ships became visible as they drew closer. They were unlike anything Jake had ever seen. Smooth, curved surfaces that seemed to flow like water. No sharp edges or obvious weapons. They looked more like sea creatures than spaceships. "Wow," Lisa breathed. "They're beautiful." The largest ship was easily 10 times the size of the New Horizon. It approached slowly and took position a safe distance away. Jake could see smaller craft moving around it, possibly shuttle ships. "Captain," Amy said, excitement clear in her voice. "They're responding to our Earth information, sending us star charts and—" "Jake, I think they're asking us to come aboard their ship." Jake looked at his crew. This was the moment that would define humanity's future relationship with galactic civilization. "Dr. Webb, Ryan, Amy, you're with me. Lisa, you have the bridge. If anything goes wrong, get us out of here." "Be careful, Jake," Lisa said. "We don't know what they want." An hour later, Jake found himself in the New Horizons shuttle bay, preparing for the most important meeting in human history. Dr. Webb had prepared a basic medical kit and communication devices. Ryan carried backup navigation data in case they needed to prove their origins. Amy brought every communication device they had. The alien shuttle that came to collect them was as elegant as their larger ships. It docked with the New Horizon without any problems, suggesting their technology was compatible or at least adaptable. When the airlock opened, Jake got his first look at galactic civilization. The alien standing in the doorway was tall and thin, with pale blue skin and large dark eyes. It wore a form-fitting suit that seemed to shift colors in the light. Behind it, Jake could see 2 more beings that looked completely different. One was shorter and covered in what looked like fur, while the other was tall and seemed to be made of living crystal. The blue-skinned alien stepped forward and made a gesture that might have been a greeting. It spoke in a voice that sounded like music, but Jake could not understand the words. Amy stepped forward with her communication device. She played back some of the mathematical sequences they had exchanged, then pointed to herself and said "human" clearly. The alien's large eyes widened, turned to its companions, and spoke rapidly in its musical language. The crystal being responded with sounds like chimes, while the furry one made clicking noises. The blue alien turned back to Jake and spoke again, this time in heavily accented but recognizable English. "You are the humans, the ones from the dead world." Jake felt a chill run down his spine. "Dead world. Earth," the alien said. "The 3rd planet of the yellow star. It has been silent for 800,000 years. We know of your kind from—" "The ruins?" Dr. Webb asked. The alien gestured for them to follow. Come, the consul will explain. You have much to learn about what has happened while you slept. The alien shuttle was spacious inside, with soft lighting and comfortable seats that seemed to adjust to human proportions automatically. During the short flight to the main ship, the blue alien introduced itself as Commander Zethkala of the Valerian people. The crystal being was called Nexus, and the furry one was named Crick. Your species is known to us, Zethkala explained, but only from archaeology. We found your cities on dozens of worlds, your technology buried in ancient sites. We believed. You died out long ago. Other worlds, Ryan asked. Humans reached other worlds. Oh, yes, Zethkala said. Your people spread far before the Great Silence. But then, nothing. No signals, no ships, no contact. We assumed you were extinct. The main alien ship was even more impressive inside than outside. The corridors were wide and filled with beings of different species. Jake saw creatures that looked like walking plants, others that seemed to be made of living metal, and some that looked almost human, except for their strange eyes or colored skin. This is the Galactic Federation, Zethkala explained as they walked. 117 species working together for peace and prosperity. We have governed this region of space for 400,000 years. They entered a large chamber, where an elderly alien sat behind a curved desk. This being was different from the others, with gray skin and forearms. Its eyes were kind but very old. I am Consul Prexty, the alien said in perfect English. I represent the Korthok people, one of the founding species of the Federation. We have been waiting a very long time to meet living humans. Jake stepped forward. I'm Captain Jake Morrison of the Earthship New Horizon. These are my officers, Dr. Karen Webb, Navigator Ryan Collins, and Communications Officer Amy Rodriguez. Prexty's forearms moved in what might have been a gesture of welcome. Captain Morrison, your arrival has already sent messages across the galaxy. Species that have studied human ruins for centuries are demanding to meet you. Your return might mean fear, Jake asked. Humans are legends, Captain. Our species reached the stars when most of us were still learning to make fire. You built cities on worlds that we still cannot colonize. You created technology that we are only now beginning to understand. Some believe you were gods. Others think you were destroyers. Dr. Webb leaned forward. What do you think? Prexty was quiet for a moment. I think you were explorers like us. But you went to sleep during the greatest expansion period in galactic history. You missed the wars, the alliances, the growth of civilization. You were strangers in a galaxy that was built on the foundations you left behind. What happened to Earth? Jake asked the question that had been haunting him. Climate collapse, Prexty said sadly. Your planet became uninhabitable about 50,000 years after your generation ships left. The survivors tried to adapt, but eventually even they died out. Earth is a dead world now, covered in ice and empty cities.
Ow.
Jake felt tears in his eyes. Earth was gone. Everyone they had known was dead. Humanity's birth world was a frozen tomb. But Prexty continued, your legacy lives on. 3 of our major species evolved from human colonists who adapted to their new worlds. The Valerians, the Delphani, and the Ketheri all carry human DNA. In a way, humans never truly died out. You became part of the galaxy itself. Amy spoke up. What does this mean for us? For humans? Prexty stood up with all 4 arms. That Communications Officer Rodriguez is what we must decide. The galaxy knows the humans have returned. Some will welcome you as the return of the ancestors. Others will see you as a threat to the order they have built. Your ship may be small, but your species casts a very large shadow. Jake looked at his crew. They were no longer just explorers looking for a new home. They were representatives of humanity's entire future in a galaxy that had moved on without them. What do we do now? Jake asked. Now, Prexty said, we decide whether humanity rejoins galactic civilization or whether the galaxy remembers. Why it once feared the humans who could sleep between the stars. Outside the ship, Jake could see dozens of other vessels arriving. Word was spreading fast. The humans were awake, and the galaxy would never be the same. The news spread across the galaxy faster than Jake Morrison could have imagined. Within hours of their meeting with Consul Prexty, communication networks throughout Federation space were buzzing with one impossible fact. The humans were alive. Jake stood in the observation deck of the Federation ship, watching as more vessels arrived every hour. Some were massive diplomatic ships carrying ambassadors from distant worlds. Others were smaller research vessels filled with scientists eager to study living humans. A few looked like military ships, though their intentions remained unclear. "It's like watching history happen," Dr. Karen Webb said as she joined Jake at the viewing window. "In just 2 days, we've gone from being the only humans in the universe to being the most famous beings in the galaxy." Amy Rodriguez hurried into the observation deck carrying a datapad filled with translation software. "Jake, you need to see this. The Federation Council has called an emergency session. Every major species is sending representatives. They want to decide what to do about us." "What to do about us?" Jake repeated. "We're not a problem to be solved, some of them think." "We are," Amy said quietly. "I've been monitoring their communications. There are 3 main groups forming. The first wants to welcome us back and learn from us. The second wants to study us like ancient artifacts. The third, the third what? The third thinks we should have stayed extinct." Ryan Collins entered the room with Tony Martinez, the ship's engineer who had been working with Federation technical teams. Both men looked troubled. "Jake, we have a bigger problem," Ryan said. "Tony has been examining their historical records with their archaeologists. What they found about human colonies is not what we expected." Tony activated a holographic display that showed a 3-dimensional map of the galaxy. Dozens of star systems were marked with human symbols. "Jake, we didn't just reach a few nearby worlds. Human ships spread across half the galaxy before the Great Silence. We established colonies on over 60 worlds." "That's incredible," Dr. Webb said. "Our species was more successful than we ever imagined." Continued, "Show them, Ryan." Ryan manipulated the display, highlighting 3 specific regions of space. These areas are now the home territories of the Valerians, Delphani, and Cathari species. According to Federation records, these species evolved naturally on their worlds over the past 800,000 years. "But that's not true," Tony said. "The archaeological evidence shows human settlements on all these worlds. Settlements that match the timeline of our generation ship program. These species didn't evolve naturally. They evolved from human colonists who adapted to their new environments." "You're saying 3 major Federation species are actually human descendants?" "More than that," Ryan said. "Look at their technologies, their social structures, their philosophies. They all show human influences. The Valerian concepts of democracy, the Delphani approach to environmental harmony, the Cathari dedication to scientific advancement. These aren't alien ideas. They're human ideas that survived and grew." Claire Murphy, the ship's cultural historian, entered the room with several data tablets. "I've been working with Federation historians, and the picture is even bigger than we thought. Human influence is everywhere in galactic civilization." She activated another display showing cultural and technological development timelines. The Federation's basic laws about individual rights, their scientific method, even their mathematical systems all trace back to human colonies. When Earth went silent, the human colonies kept developing. They shared their knowledge with other species, intermarried, adapted, and evolved. Humanity didn't die out. It became the foundation of galactic civilization. Jake felt overwhelmed. So when Prexty said humans cast a large shadow, he wasn't exaggerating. "Not even close," Claire said. "There's more. The 3 species that evolved from humans don't know their true origins. Federation history books record them as naturally evolved aliens. Only the archaeological evidence reveals the truth." Dr. Paul Henderson, the ship's cultural specialist, joined the group. "I've been talking with Federation psychologists and philosophers. It's Jake. Human ideas about cooperation, exploration, and peaceful coexistence form the core of Federation ideology. These aliens have been following human principles for hundreds of thousands of years. without realizing it. Amy's communication device started beeping urgently. "Jake, I'm getting priority messages from the Federation Council. There's been a development." The main screen in the observation deck activated, showing Consul Prextia's concerned face. "Captain Morrison, please gather your senior staff. We have an urgent situation." 20 minutes later, Jake and his team were back in the Federation Council chamber, but this time it was filled with representatives from dozens of species. The atmosphere was tense, and Jake could feel hostile stares from several directions. Prexty stood at the center of the room. "Captain Morrison, news of your return has reached every corner of Federation space. Most species are reacting with curiosity and wonder. However, the Drex Empire has declared your presence a threat to galactic stability." A new voice spoke from across the room. "The natural order has been established over 400,000 years. The return of an extinct species threatens everything we have built." Jake turned to see the speaker. The Drex representative was tall and covered in dark scales, with red eyes that seemed to glow with anger. Behind him stood several other beings that looked equally hostile. "General Krexstar of the Drex Empire," Prexti said, "you have requested permission to speak." "I have not requested. I have demanded," Krexstar said. "The humans are a dead species that should remain dead. Their colonies failed, their world is frozen, and their time is over. They have no place in the modern galaxy." Jake stood up. "General, we're not here to threaten anyone. We're explorers who've been asleep for a very long time. We just want to understand what's happened and find our place in the galaxy." Krexstar's red eyes focused on Jake. "Your place is in the past, human. Your species had their chance and failed. The galaxy has moved beyond your primitive ways." "Primitive ways?" Dr. Webb said angrily. "Human principles helped build this entire civilization." "Lies," Krexstar said. "The Drex Empire has studied your ruins. You were destroyers who abandoned their own world when they poisoned it. You spread across the galaxy like a disease before finally dying out as you deserved." Claire Murphy stood up with her data tablets. "That's not true, and you know it. Your own archaeological reports show human colonies were peaceful and cooperative. They worked with local species, shared technology, and helped establish trade networks." "History," Krexstar dismissed. "What matters is now. The galaxy has order. The strong rule, the weak serve, and extinct species stay extinct." Prexty raised one of his forearms for silence. "General Krexstar, the humans are here, and they are alive. We must deal with reality, not ideology." "Then we will deal with them," Krexstar said. "The Drex Empire claims the right to test these so-called humans. If they can prove they deserve to exist in our galaxy, perhaps we will allow it. If not, ... double quotes. If not, what?" Gage asked. Krexstar smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. "If not, we will finish what their own failures started. The galaxy does not need the return of failed gods." The room erupted in angry voices as different species argued about humanity's fate. Jake watched in amazement and horror as galactic civilization split before his eyes. Some species defended humanity's right to return. Others supported the Drex position, and many seemed unsure what to think. Prexty finally restored order. "The Federation Council will debate this matter and vote on humanity's status. Until then, the humans remain under Federation protection." "Protection that we do not recognize," Krexstar said. "The strong do not need votes to enforce reality." As the council session ended, Jake gathered with his crew. The galaxy they had awakened to was more complex and dangerous than they had imagined. They weren't just meeting aliens anymore. They were caught in the middle of a galactic crisis that threatened to tear apart the civilization their own species had helped create. "What do we do now?" Amy asked. Jake looked around the room at the various alien species still arguing about humanity's fate, and we proved that humans deserve to be here. Not just for us, but for everyone who's been living human ideals without. Knowing it, outside the station, Jake could see Drex warships taking positions near the Federation fleet. The galaxy was choosing sides, and humanity found itself at the center of a conflict that could determine the future of galactic civilization. The humans were awake, but the galaxy was far from ready for what that meant. The Federation Council chamber was the largest room Jake Morrison had ever seen. Representatives from over 200 species filled the curved seating areas, their voices creating a constant buzz of different languages and sounds. At the center of it all sat the humans, waiting to learn their fate. 3 weeks had passed since the emergency session with General Crexstar. During that time, the galaxy had taken sides. Progressive species like the Valerians and Delphani supported humanity's return. Conservative factions worried about disrupting the established order. The Drex Empire had gathered allies who believed might made right. Consul Prexty stood at the central podium, his forearms gesturing for silence. The Federation Council has debated for 21 days. We have heard testimony from archaeologists, historians, scientists, and military leaders. Today we vote on humanity's place in our galaxy. Jake felt his heart racing. Beside him, Dr. Karen Webb gripped her chair tightly. Amy Rodriguez had her communication devices ready to record whatever happened. The crew of the New Horizon would witness either humanity's welcome back to galactic civilization or their final rejection. However, Prexty continued, before we vote, General Crexstar has invoked the right of challenge. Jake's blood went cold. Ryan Collins had explained this ancient Federation law during their preparation. Any species could challenge another's right to exist by demanding they prove their worth through action. General Crexstar rose from his section, his dark scales gleaming under the chamber lights. The Drex Empire demands proof that these humans deserve to exist in our galaxy. Words are meaningless. Let them show us what they can do. The challenge is accepted, Prexty announced. What test do you propose? Crexstar smiled his terrifying smile. The Nexus Prime system, 7 worlds, 40 billion beings, the capital of Federation space. For 3 days, it has been under threat from a gravitational anomaly that our best scientists cannot solve. If the humans are truly as clever as they claim, let them save Nexus Prime. Jake stood up. What kind of anomaly? A new voice answered him. Dr. Yaltera, the Federation's top astrophysicist, was a tall being with crystal-like skin that refracted the light around her. Captain Morrison, 12 hours ago, our sensors detected a massive gravitational distortion approaching the Nexus system. It appears to be artificial, possibly a weapon of unknown origin. The main display activated, showing the Nexus system. Jake could see 7 planets orbiting a bright star, each one covered with cities and space stations. It was beautiful and peaceful. The crown jewel of galactic civilization, but approaching from outside the system was something that made Jake's stomach turn. A dark mass that seemed to bend space around itself, growing larger as it moved toward the populated worlds. Our computers predict the anomaly will reach Nexus Prime in 18 hours, Dr. Yaltera continued. When it does, the gravitational effects will tear the planet apart. We've tried everything we know. Nothing works. And if we fail?
Jake
asked. Crexstar's red eyes gleamed. Then 40 billion beings die, and the galaxy learns that humans are still the failures they always were. If you succeed, ... double quotes, paused. If you succeed, the Drex Empire will acknowledge your right to exist. Jake looked at his crew. Beth Collins, their chief science officer, was already studying the data on her portable scanner. Her face was pale. But determined, Jake, I need to see their research. All of it. You have 6 hours to review our data, Dr. Yaltera said. Then you must depart for Nexus Prime. The anomaly waits for no one. The next 6 hours were the most intense of Jake's life. Beth worked with Federation scientists, while Tony Martinez studied their engineering reports. Daniel Kim, their navigator, plotted courses and calculated orbital mechanics. The entire crew threw themselves into understanding a threat that had baffled the galaxy's best minds. I think I know what it is, Beth announced as they gathered in the New Horizons briefing room. It's not a natural phenomenon. Someone built this thing. She activated the ship's display, showing a detailed analysis of the anomaly. Look at these patterns. The gravitational field isn't random. It's controlled, directed. This is a weapon that feeds on stellar energy and converts it into gravitational force. Dr. Webb leaned forward, Who would build something like this? Someone who wants to destroy star systems, Beth said grimly. But that's not the important part. Important part is how it works. She highlighted specific sections of the data. The energy conversion system uses principles that were explored in early human quantum physics. Theories that were developed on Earth about 1,000 years ago, before we left for the stars. Jake felt a spark of hope. You're saying we understand this because we invented the science behind it? Exactly. Federation science developed along different paths. They understand gravity and energy, but they approach it differently than humans did. This weapon uses human-style physics that they never fully explored. Tony looked up from his engineering reports. So we can stop it? Beth was quiet for a moment. Maybe, but it would require the New Horizon to get very close to the anomaly. Close enough that we might not survive? Explain, Jake said. The weapon creates its gravitational field by resonating quantum particles in a specific pattern. If we can generate a counter-resonance at exactly the right frequency, we can collapse the field and destroy the weapon. Daniel spread out his navigation charts. How close is close? We'd have to fly directly into the anomaly's outer field, Beth said. The resonance device would need to be activated from inside the gravitational distortion. Jake looked around. The table at his crew. These people had followed him across nearly 1,000,000 years of sleep. They had awakened to find their species nearly extinct and their world dead. He was asking them to risk their lives to save aliens who might reject them anyway. I won't order anyone to do this, Jake said. This is volunteer only. Amy Rodriguez was the first to speak. Jake, 40 billion people are going to die if we don't try. That's not really a choice. Ryan nodded. Besides, someone needs to show these Drex idiots that humans don't give up. One by one, the entire crew volunteered. Lisa Parker summed it up best. We came out here to find humanity a new home. Maybe saving 40 billion aliens is how we earn the right to stay. 12 hours later, the New Horizon approached the Nexus system. Jake had never seen anything more beautiful or more terrifying. The 7 worlds gleamed like jewels around their star. But the dark mass of the gravitational weapon loomed over them like a hungry monster. Federation fleet is maintaining distance, Amy reported. All civilian traffic has been evacuated from the outer system. Jake opened a communication channel to the Federation ships. This is Captain Morrison. We're beginning our approach to the anomaly. Prexty's voice came back immediately. Captain, the entire galaxy is watching. Whatever happens, know that you have already proven your courage. Thank you, Consul. We'll talk to you when this is over. The New Horizon accelerated toward the anomaly. As they got closer, Jake could feel the gravitational effects pulling at the ship. Lights flickered, and the deck plates groaned under the stress. Entering the outer field now, Daniel reported. Gravity is 3 times normal and increasing. Beth worked frantically at her science station. Almost there, I need another 1,000 kilometers closer. Jake, Lisa called from engineering. The ship can't take much more of this. Hull stress is approaching critical levels. Beth, how much longer? Jake asked. 30 seconds. Just hold us together for 30 more seconds. The ship shook violently as they penetrated deeper into the anomaly. Jake could hear metal groaning and systems failing around them. On the main screen, the gravitational weapon filled their view. A swirling mass of dark energy that seemed to eat light itself. No, Beth shouted. She activated the resonance device, and the universe seemed to hold its breath. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the anomaly began to collapse in on itself, the dark energy unraveling like a ball of yarn. It's working, Amy yelled. The weapon imploded with a flash of light that could be seen across the system. The gravitational field collapsed, and the New Horizon was thrown clear by the release of energy. All stations report, Jake called out as the ship tumbled through space. Engineering intact, Lisa reported. We're banged up, but we'll make it. Navigation systems functional, Daniel said. We're clear of the anomaly. Beth looked up from her scanner with a huge smile. It's gone, Jake. The weapon is completely destroyed. On the main screen, Nexus Prime continued its peaceful orbit around the star. 40 billion beings would live to see another day. Jake opened a channel to the Federation fleet. Consul Prexty, this is Captain Morrison. Nexus Prime is safe. The response came not just from Prexty, but from voices across the galaxy as the news spread. Celebrations erupted on Federation worlds. Even some Drex ships signaled their acknowledgement. Jake looked at his crew, battered but victorious. Had proven that humans belonged in the galaxy not through conquest or domination, but by protecting those who needed help. The test was over. Humanity had passed. 2 years had passed since the crew of the New Horizons saved Nexus Prime from destruction. Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of his new ship, the Earthrise, watching the sunrise over New Terra through the main display. The planet was beautiful, with blue oceans and green continents that reminded him of the Earth he had left behind nearly 1,000,000 years ago. Captain Amy Rodriguez called from her communications station. "We're receiving signals from the deep space monitoring stations. Another human ship has been detected in the outer rim." Smiled. This was becoming a regular occurrence. "Which one is it this time?" "The Memphis Belle, sir. Colony ship from the Australian Alliance. They launched about 50 years after we did." Dr. Lucy Foster entered the bridge carrying a datapad filled with awakening protocols. As humanity's first ambassador to the Federation, she had become an expert at helping newly awakened humans adjust to their new reality. "That makes 15 ships we've found," Lucy said. "Over 2 million humans awake and adapting to galactic civilization. Not bad for an extinct species." Jake looked out at New Terra again. The Valerian people had given humans this world as a gift after the Nexus Prime incident. It was their way of saying thank you and welcome home. The planet was now home to nearly 500,000 humans, with more arriving every month as the search teams found more sleeping ships. "Any word from the expedition teams?" Jake asked. Amy checked her long-range communications. The Atlanta is investigating signals in the Cygnus sector. The Boston reports they've found traces of human colonies in the outer spiral, and the Chicago... She paused. "The Chicago has found something big, Jake. They want to talk to you directly. Put them through." The main screen activated, showing Captain Nick Turner of the exploration ship Chicago. Nick had been awakened from the colony ship Miami 6 months ago, and had quickly proven himself as an excellent deep space explorer. "Jake, you need to see this," Nick said without preamble. "We found a human colony that never went to sleep." Jake felt his heart skip a beat. "What do you mean?" "I mean, we found living human descendants who have been awake and developing for the past 800,000 years. They never used cryotechnology. They built their civilization the old-fashioned way, one generation at a time." The bridge fell silent. Dr. Karen Webb, who had been checking medical reports, looked up in amazement. "That's impossible. No human colony could survive that long without Federation contact." "Tell that to the 10 billion people living in the Kepler 438 system," Nick said. "Call themselves the Terran Commonwealth, and Jake, they've been waiting for us." 3 days later, Jake found himself aboard the Chicago as it approached the Kepler 438 system. What he saw through the observation windows took his breath away. The system was filled with massive space habitats, orbital cities, and ships that looked like nothing he had ever seen. The technology was clearly human in origin, but it had evolved far beyond anything the Generation ship crews could imagine. "They detected us the moment we entered the system," Nick explained. "Their ships are incredibly advanced, but they're definitely human. Look." On the main screen, Jake could see one of the Terran Commonwealth vessels approaching. It was sleek and elegant. Clearly built by human hands but incorporating principles that would take Federation science decades to understand. "Permission to come aboard," came a voice over the communications system. The accent was strange, evolved over hundreds of thousands of years, but it was definitely English. "Permission granted," Jake replied. The airlock opened to reveal a woman, who was unmistakably human despite her strange clothing and the subtle differences that long evolution had created. She was tall and graceful, with bright eyes that seemed to see everything at once. "I am Admiral Sarah Chen of the Terran Commonwealth Fleet," she said. "We have been monitoring galactic communications for the past 2 years. We know about your awakening and your integration with the Federation. We have been waiting for you to find us." Jake stepped forward. "I'm Captain Jake Morrison." "Admiral, how did your people survive for so long?" Sarah smiled. The same way all humans survive, Captain. We adapted. When Earth went silent, we knew. We were on our own. We built our civilization slowly, carefully, with an eye toward the long term. We developed technologies the Federation has never imagined. We explored regions of space they have never seen. We waited for our sleeping brothers and sisters to wake up. Dr. Webb leaned forward. What technologies? Faster than light communication, stable wormhole generation, consciousness transfer, genetic optimization, artificial intelligence that actually thinks, Sarah listed casually. We've had 800,000 years to work on these problems. Jake felt overwhelmed. Why didn't you contact the Federation? Why didn't you help them? Sarah's expression grew serious. Because we learned something during our long development that the Federation is only now beginning to understand. There are threats in this galaxy that go far beyond anything you've encountered. The gravitational weapon you destroyed at Nexus. Prime was just a scout probe? Scout probe? Amy asked. The Void Seekers, Sarah said quietly. They come from outside our galaxy, moving from one star system to another, consuming everything in their path. They've been testing Federation defenses for decades, but nobody recognized the attacks for what they were. She activated a holographic display showing the galaxy from a perspective Jake had never seen. Dark spots marked various locations throughout Federation space. Every unexplained disaster, every mysterious system failure, every natural catastrophe that the Federation couldn't explain, Sarah continued. The Void Seekers have been probing for weaknesses. The weapon at Nexus Prime was their way of testing human knowledge and capabilities. Jake stared at the display. You're saying they know about us? They know about all of us? Sarah said. But they're particularly interested in humans. We represent something they haven't encountered before. A species that can adapt, survive, and innovate across impossible timescales. They see us as either the greatest threat or the most valuable prize in the galaxy. Nick spoke up. What do we do about it? Sarah turned to face the group. We do what humans have always done. We work together. The Terran Commonwealth has been preparing for this war for 200,000 years. The Federation has resources and population we could never match. And you sleeping ship crews have something even more valuable. What's that? Jake asked. Fresh perspectives? You come from the time when humans first reached for the stars? You remember what it was like to be explorers instead of survivors? You have the curiosity and optimism that long civilization tends to lose. Over the following weeks, Jake found himself at the center of the most important meeting in galactic history. Representatives from the Federation, the Terran Commonwealth, and the Awaken generation ship crews gathered on New Terra to plan for a threat none of them could face alone. Grace Adams would become the military liaison for the Awaken ships. Worked with Terran Commonwealth generals to coordinate defense strategies. The Commonwealth had weapons and shields beyond Federation understanding, but they lacked the numbers to protect an entire galaxy. Dr. Paul Henderson spent his time with Commonwealth historians, learning about 800,000 years of human development. The Terran Commonwealth had maintained detailed records of their growth, their discoveries, and their preparations for the coming war. It's incredible, Paul told Jake during one of their briefings. They never forgot where they came from. Commonwealth citizen learns about old Earth, about the generation ships, about the dream of reaching the stars. They've been holding our place in the galaxy all this time. Preparations took months, but eventually the combined fleets were ready. The Federation contributed ships and personnel from 200 species. The Commonwealth provided advanced weapons and defensive technologies. The generation ship crews served as coordinators and strategic advisors. Jake found himself commanding a joint task force that would have been impossible to imagine when he first woke up. Human and alien crews worked side by side, sharing knowledge and techniques that had developed across nearly 1,000,000 years of separate evolution. Contact, came the call from the sensor stations. On the main display, Jake could see them. The Void Seekers emerged from the dark space between galaxies like a plague of locusts. Their ships were massive and alien, built for one purpose: consumption and destruction. All ships, This is Admiral Chen, came Sarah's voice over the fleet communications. Today, we fight not just for our own survival, but for the right of all species to exist and grow. Humans have waited 800,000 years for this moment. Let's show the galaxy why we never gave up. The battle was unlike anything Jake had ever imagined. Commonwealth weapons carved through Void Seeker ships, while Federation shields protected smaller vessels. Generation ship crews used their knowledge of old Earth tactics to coordinate attacks that the enemy couldn't predict. But the real victory came when the Void Seekers realized they faced something they had never encountered before: a galaxy united by human ideals of cooperation, exploration, and peaceful coexistence. When they tried to corrupt the Federation's communication networks, they found systems based on human concepts of free information exchange.